Thanks for having me. I'm going to read some things from here, and then I'm going to read some things that actually look and sound more like poems. You will be relieved, and then I will leave, and you'll be even more relieved. So I'm going to start with this poem, Pagado Jib, or Chib, or Dear George, after the Victorian novelist and ethnographer George Borrow and other self-proclaimed Romany Rye who set themselves up as experts and arbiters of Gypsy language and culture, coiners of the phrase Pagado Jib, which they translate as broken tongue, to describe the degenerate speech of impure itinerants, as opposed to that of the true or pure Romanys. Fuck those guys. And this starts with 3 wee quotes. These people, Abraham men or pikers, have frequently been confounded with the gypsies, but are, in reality, a distinct race. Though they resemble the latter in some points, they roam about like the gypsies, and, like them, have a kind of secret language. But the gypsies are a people of Oriental origin, whilst the Abrahamites are the scurf of the English body corporate. The language of the gypsies is a real language, more like the Sanskrit than any other language in the world, whereas the speech of the Abrahamites is a horrid jargon, composed for the most part of low English words used in an allegorical sense. George Borrow, Romano Lavo Lil, 1874. One can rarely be sure whether the word, gypsy, is being used in its proper sense to describe the obstinately surviving race of purebred Romanys, that is, purebred as one finds them in these times, who still uphold as best they can the nomadic traditions of their ancestors, or whether the true gypsies are being lumped together with other social groups, like mumpers, squatters, and tramps. A. Fraser, The Gypsy Problem, from the Journal of the Gypsy Lore Society, 3rd series, 1953. It's not Irish, it's not English, it's just, well, it's just pikey, from the film Snatch by Guy Ritchie, 2000. Dear George, just to say, I mistook my tongue for a locust dipped in honey, for the cloudy surmise of a mushroom sublimed in its spores, for the scurvy vagabondage of a London night, for the airless distillery slang of ghosts, or for Mihal's hand as it slipped from me, for the wasting regime of hospitals, for us raw-boned boys chewing the cud of conviction, those golden paddock chancers a chaser of dirt to go with the comment they swallowed. All of my life, I mistook myself for the wind in the weeds with a stupid look like a horse led lame to water. Dear George, just to say, I saw myself this morning as a line of ants, as a string of beads. My sickle stunts the cloudy part of pain the way the starlings break apart like leaves of tea. This way we once had language, the horses' backs like pale anvils, a coke can dipped in the holy well, and kestrels, those aerial sadists always. George, we are not animals and are animals, and soar ourselves in the decorous twilight of beasts, the rans, the dogs, the foxes, the jinxes and the flukes. I travelled in torchlight the length of myself. I looked on us boys in gelded sullenness, how their lips cracked in want of a cross to kiss, loiterers in stale glory. Dear George, to be a reaper of repeat offences, to be spooky, trailing a vaudeville doom for kicks. I was the swan's mother. I was the tar baby's midwife, writhing on a bed of wanton lilies wrapped in plastic. Do you not know me? Having entered my tent, having asked me my name, having issued your rockering warrant. Am I not stained by your bootsteps? Here, where you trampled your epitaph into my skin, scholar of our Pyrrhic kenning's motto scrawled on the blade of an axe, said me to debris, convened your committee of sour regrets in my empty mouth. Dear George, do you know me now? With your tongue dressed in all the finery of refusal and many more hereafter, the Arts Council funding a thoroughbred no and horse with warning. Miho passing pinkly through an ugly medical threshold, where temperament assessors say, speak not your lumpen fury, Speak not your cock-robin hiccup of song, traipsing through an aisling. You've hung a sign from our language that reads, no Irish need apply. Struck a match against exhaustion and burnt our papers by candlelight. Same old. And the cherished repetition of a hand through flame, through a plate glass window, through a hole in our culture. How you sealed me tight against reply within the infamous skin of obituary, muttered my melt-weight to fraud, made me a bantering shadow counterfeit, a bleak fate I cannot counter, to sow myself first in the deep pocket of my poacher's coat. I grow myself more blades than coins, more coins than fingers. Do you know my name? Broken between pannier paths and weirs, and axe the hot dread of halting. I mistook my name for a spasm of magpies, for Mihaw's hair threshed by the weather, for pungent honey, for my mirage of fragile appetite in a place of inhospitable reprieve, abhors the lay-by where I gave my name and dressed myself in a saint-shed skin. Dear George, how it feels to be scurf, how language sweats out my infection, my effect, my affection, syllable by syllable. I mistook myself for a woman, and the molten frontier of his stare for love. We took the cobalt altar of the night for hours, how the hedge hung sweetly on our nakedness. I mistook the road for my own, the long day swollen with O's, the breath made feathery with effort. George, was this never ours? Barefoot in the wake house of the Gaelic language, we set ourselves to error again and again. Encore toward the dying fire, to be so repulsively dispossessed, like a naked snail, our songs have second-guessed the gutter. Dear George, you may keep your purity. This language made erratically with hammer blows. I met the morning in his mouth. These tongues were never broken, George. Our native grief, the cleave. Might read, yeah, we go. This is Meditations on the Life and Example of Saint Valerie. Call me a witch, I will show you a witch. I am half pharaoh and half corpse, that is, all woman. Through the drugged attrition of late adolescence, with a limp calm dressing for breakfast. At the funeral, offering our condolences in a psychopath test falsetto, we cannot wait to talk about ourselves. My father vivisected splendidly the weight of a white shadow. At school, I borrow the head of a horse. I want to be beautiful, anemic and gaudy. My most languid disguise is a cat with a pastel paw. In the dream, I am injured, anointed, wastrels wearing flower crowns strew my path with roses. The man moving over me in macabre eclipse, his lips dropping insolent valentines, assailant, assassin, all his footsteps are addressed to me. The mind and its buried devils, the girls and their scrupulous malice, populist and absolute. In the medieval poem, The Names of the Hare has 77 names. I have 77 names, and a burlesque of bad luck the same. My sonnet is a suitcase, inexpertly packed. Crinolines, oxbloods, superfluous tulips, an obeyed, the dirge, all admonitions, carnival. My poetry is like vodka, tastes only of itself. I was set adrift on a bamboo raft under a rose-pink sky. I put the conch shell to my lips and I bugled a reveille. At 7, intently beheaded, Val is her own stubborn double. A child counts roses on a swing seat. She remembers the gum in her hair. Let's not be those women, falling apart in fine Regency fragments. A white dress is pretending you're dead. A white dress thinks it's better than you. This is called fetish capital. Take to your bed, buying Starfucker sandals on sale. Cry for days, learn how to account for flowers, domestic gin, get real classical about it. Stand around in fountains, your mouth all smooth with rumour. Do la dolce vita, incur a saint's displeasure. In the future, there is tentacle sex, nectar from another daughter's tongue, the alienation of labour. If she loves you, she will love you forever and ache you to the light. More likely, she will not love you. a shut mouth leaking its blank unsaid. I couldn't wait to comb the church from my hair, blessing myself by black gloves and patent moons, by holy salt, girls all flesh and fleece. There were morgues, mirrors, intended smoke. A flame in the light bulb abodes of the skull is wagging, is waging a merciless halo. Later, you may find yourself bruised by the cyborg blade of her tongue. She delivers and resists all names. She cleans the names, the knives that cut the names from culture. Look out, it's feeding time at the zoo. Antagonist, fur collects on her tendons, fur collects in her cells. She is changing. Men are a fleshy back in bed. He has no edges, no accent. He is a sponge, a screen. If she can't use words, she will say it with squirming, or an I want loop, or a lobbed bottle of boiling piss. Better dically psychotic than a soother, a breeder, an ego booster. Because they tried to pay her in peaches, because they said they'd pretend at the protest, because they called her a saint, but they kept the receipts. Abused crackpot. Her brain a round window, a perfect disposable O. She signed her name with a string of pearls, these robbery thoughts her own, vandal, a skin stitched into miracle, each womb a needless prison, each daughter receives a needless wound. We will never be as full as they are empty. Cities do their fibre optic amen underground, and worms are perverts and they get in everywhere. Contaminants, inferiors. Better to be dead. We asked Valerie for guidance. Her head was a lantern in a lion's mouth, inspecting error. Regretting massively my wardrobe choices. It is very, very hot. People did warn me, but I'm no, I'm going to wear the jacket. Don't do it. Don't do it. Oh, God, nothing is worth this. I swear to God, I'm dying. This is a poem. It's called The Gospel of Work. And it also starts with a quote. Oh, I should also say this is forthcoming Repellents. This will be out, A Disgusting Lie. Further Adventures Through the Neoliberal Hellmouth. It will be out. That's genuinely what it's called. It will be, I don't know what it just is. It'll be out later this year. This is a poem called The Gospel of Work. And it starts with a quote from Herbert Spencer, 1851. Under the natural order of things, society is constantly excreting its unhealthy, imbecile, slow, vacillating, faithless members. How will you know me? By the warped lope of a mastiff dog, by the jaw jacked with fussy rancour in the wolf suit of my infamous skin, by the maggoty banter of flies in fruit, through nights of remaindered malaise and all our lackey sacraments of hooch, gaffed moon, daft with shining, how? You'll number me among the mooching ghosts of minimum wage as hooky spectres wailing through the false haunts of bookies, bars as boggart faces straining through the cerements of debt. Know me as a stooge inside your sober hoaxes, by the fourth nail forged or stolen, fenced and pledged. Know me as a buccaneer of bootleg luck, oh, my lorries of larcenous load, my freight of pirate valentines. Fear me, for the snared tempest snap, for my disconcerting saunter through your city ginnels gullies, through your corridors of power. I will cudgel my lungs on industrial air, all as breathy choristers of fever sing our skylit ribbons into tubicel and soar. Fear us, for we are your grim stenographers of want. This country bears the dead weight of our witnessing, retrace our galley schlep and daily stride in steps soiled with sick report. You are besieged, despoiled, your lily crypts defiled, currency to canker. How will you know me? By the shuddering palsies of enterprise, my carafe full of wasting wine. Kill me, Your cutthroat captions closed around my strut, the cauterized lacunae of an open mouth, an open wound, my mouth and yours, still angsting its glaciate policy, hams rung to a rictus theme, to pity's canto make pretend, the fault in your face gives up its liar's drag and stunted pouts and puffs of scented gibberish. What is to be done? With a pinochle poor whose plebby knuckles scuffed the ground, with gawp as toads in mourning nailing our cretin's tome to the door of your church. Dank manifestos of absolute ingratitude, who droop to genuflection, rise to riot, remade as faction, sect and mob. You will salt our swagger so nothing grows again. The Stone Age we're bombed back to, the volatile life of the mind. Gadjo, big man, even the birds go begging here. And how will you know, teasing the hazardous griefs from our joined-up thinking, our banjally lingos and sing-along through settle and shift and the make-work of morning, up on earlies in a weak light, faces form around their oaths. Home is the steely dwelling place of cuss and curse, the worst and best of language, ferrous and bereft, you cannot know. From the genteel gridlock of good manners, you sense as devil, bleeping out the very agonies that you invent. No love can leak through the wet collodion membrane status. No love can enter the rank crevice proper to wealth and survive. All your syrup folderols, the stinking plaints of privilege, are so much watered ale. We, who will live in the slurred mistakings of vagrancy, alert and devoured as the new rose occupied with aphids, we will know, and finally singing, we will know ourselves. Thank you.